I was chilling with Stu and he was making the face he makes when he wants a chocolate bar. And so I went through pretty much every single chocolate bar I could think of. Went through Mars bars, Snickers, Cadbury, all them. And he was just shaking his head. And in the end, he was actually looking quite worried. So I was like, this fine, spell it out. So letter by letter, in painstaking slow detail, because it'd been a really, really long day. We went out and it was I need a, and I was like, oh, it's going to be, I need a shower, I need this. And it was, I need a twirl. And it probably took about 15 minutes. And honestly, I was in tears of laughter. It was just so funny. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the week. It's been just kind of crazy, but hilarious at the same time.
Westminster Phab is a week in the summer, where 40 sixth form students, like me, act as hosts. We provide 24/7 support to a group of guests who all have varying disabilities. I did Phab in 2017. This was the 41st time it's run at Westminster, and to be honest, it was pretty intense. Every day, along with your guest, there are loads of activities to take part in, learning new skills, trips in and around London, and evening entertainment. As cheesy as it sounds, Phab really was a life-changing experience for me. And to say it changed my perception of disabilities is an understatement.
I'm pretty excited to meet my guest. I'm nervous as well at the same time, but hopefully that will go within the first few hours when we get to know them, like in the various activities we do.
Staying at school was actually pretty fun. Well, now I know what it's like more to be a boarder, and like waking up was really weird, and then having breakfast with everyone, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
It was quite intimidating having an empty bed next to you where the guests would stay. But yeah, hopefully when they come it will all fall into place and be nice.
Another great thing about Phab is that we've all gotten these awesome purple hoodies. So the theme this year is Fabricadabra. And you can see it says Fabricadabra on the hoodie.
So the first Phab took place in 1977 in the summer holidays, and it was begun by Willie Booth, who just started working at the school as the chaplain. And he brought with him the idea. He'd actually run a Phab course at Cranleigh School, where he was based before he came to Westminster.
My name's Mark Davison. I was at Westminster School in the 70s, and I went on the first course, Phab, that was held in 1977, 40 years ago. Phab was new, and there weren't that many people involved. I think it was in 1977, I think it was a bit of a test run.
In the January 1978 edition of the Elizabethan, there's quite a comprehensive write-up of the first ever Phab, with a nice introduction from Willie Booth talking about the aims of the course, but also very interesting paragraphs from people who took part, both guests and hosts. It's really interesting that even from the outset, even from the very first Phab, it became seen as something that was really very much part of the Westminster School year. Dorcas Mundy, one of the guests at the very first Phab at Westminster, wrote, "I still, however, come back to the people rather than the places, because it is all the people, both PH and AB, who make the courses work or not, and the ones at Westminster course made it the most memorable." Phab was then an acronym for physically handicapped and able-bodied, which we don't use anymore. Two of the hosts from the first ever Phab in 1977, Mark Gibbon and Daniel Newman, wrote about their experiences and about why Phab was such an important part of the school life. They say that the school, with its resources of people, spaces and equipment, and being as it is in the centre of London, has unique opportunities for work of this kind, but that these resources hadn't properly been exploited. They say Westminster, to put it bluntly, has no social conscience. It is too fashionable to preach about Westminster apathy, but there is in fact so much that could be done and so little that is. The Phab course was something new, and all of those who are associated with it will vouch that it was well worthwhile. It must not be allowed to be the last of its kind here.
Doing Phab at Westminster in the 1970s was, I think it was very unusual. I think we were probably one of the first schools that did it. And I think that everybody who went on it learned a great deal about how privileged we were and how important it was that we shared some of that privilege and gave something back to the community. I think that was probably the key message that I took away from Willie's involvement with this. And I think that, that's a message that should resonate with people of every generation.
So the earliest Phabs were a bit smaller than the ones today.
It was something like 24 of each, and then a bunch of masters and several of the matrons on top. So as a percentage of the school, it was less than 5%.
But by the early 2000s, we were already up to a Phab of about 80 people taking part.
It's much bigger, but it hasn't lost its ethos and its mood, which is the most precious thing about it, and that goes right back to Willie when he set it up.
Willie Booth stopped working at Westminster School in 1992, having run Phab for 15 years by that point. It was very good that David Hargreaves stepped up to take over the running of Phab, and we've got some great photographs from that period of Phab taking place in Little Dean's Yard. And here's one of David with the guests.
When he ran it, it became something that lots of people wanted to do. I think that's a really important shift and a legacy of his.
Andy Johnson took over running Phab. Here's a photograph from 2007, and you can see him, Dr. AK, and Mr. Allason.
For me, Phab was the single most influential experience of my entire time at this school, without a shadow of a doubt. There was a sort of atmosphere of inclusion, of people moving out of their comfort zones, of fun, of this mixture of enormous fun with immense responsibility.
I think it's a great testament to Willie Booth that here we are 40 years on and Phab is still going strong, going from strength to strength, probably much bigger than it was in our time, and I think that's fantastic.
With a new generation of hosts and guests has come a new generation of leaders. More recently, Phab has been run by Ransford Aguirre Kwabe, or AK for short. But like Willie Booth and Andy Johnson before him, he's handed over to a new leader, Bhavna Choraria.
AK was all about the love. He really cares a lot about all of the guests and all of the hosts. He's always really prime point in his mind was thinking about all of the relationships, everyone making sure that they were happy, chilled out. He loved making people laugh, doing his announcements, some planned, some less planned, but they were always hilarious. And it was lovely to see someone care that much about all of the guests and hosts.
It's very different being in charge. I started not knowing anything about Phab and being the person who was aquavacking the showers and cleaning all the cups and running around doing things. As a leader, your role is much more obviously to oversee and direct what other people are doing, which is hard because I like doing things rather than I don't really like telling other people to do things. But you have to take that step back and have a bit of an overview.
Teachers are absolutely amazing. Kind of the level of understanding all the teachers have with the guests, and also the way they look out for the hosts as well, like absolutely unbelievable. Like Bhavna, geez, she runs a tight ship, but makes it a massive laugh as well, which is basically how I think everything should be done.
We met our guests, who arrived from all across the country at some of London's railway stations, and we got our first taste of some of the difficulties they face in getting around, something we took for granted.
I love it. I love it.
So we are in the pub now, and you see we're all good time. We've all got our drinks, right? Yeah.
During Phab, guests and hosts work together in workshops to learn new skills, presenting what they got up to in the big Phab show on the last day, attended by friends, family and former Phab participants.
I just love seeing all of the hosts and particularly the guests just getting stuck into such a wide range of opportunities, and knowing that they're in safe hands with the workshop leaders, and then being able to, like, for me it's a luxury being able to wander around and just dip into each of them and see everyone having a great time and being really inclusive, which I think's the main point of the week.
So we were doing the design workshop and it was very exciting. We had a fantastic week. We got to use electroluminescent wire, which is all colourful and bright, laser cutters, a lot of LEDs and woodworking, and we had a lot of great products like mirrors and cars.
I built the Harry Potter car. We built it out of wood. I think a few of us have done like mirrors and a few bits like that and lights and stuff.
What's your favourite bit of the week?
My favourite week is doing dance and drama. It's really good to do activities, and the dance helps me to do some more dancing and acting. It's really good, love it.
How is Hermione going to get out of the Forbidden Forest? She tries to turn right. She tries to go through the trees. She tries to go right again. The trees are everywhere. She's still trying to get through. She turns right one final time. And at last, she gets out of the forest.
There definitely are some nerves to begin with. Nothing can really prepare you for actually caring for somebody 24/7. We're given some training, but there's nothing that can really match first meeting your guest. Luckily, a lot of the Phab guests have done it before. My guest, James, has done it for 25 years, so he is by far the most seasoned veteran of Phab. So he was able to tell me how I could help and what I should do. And so by the end of it, we got into a rhythm.
If you'd asked me before this week, if you'd asked me, is yard accessible to wheelchairs? I'm like, of course, it's flat, but it's the little things you don't realise, like narrow doorways or small steps and things. And actually, every part of your day takes a huge amount more time. And the things I take for granted, like jumping in the shower in the morning, that has to be planned down to the minutest details. So it's really made me think and appreciate, the life I lead, and just jumping out of bed in the morning is something that a lot of people really can't do, and that is something I will really think about.
In the last 40 years, there have been immense changes in London, particularly around transport and access, disabled access to museums, art galleries, restaurants and so on. None of that really existed. It was quite difficult to get around 40 years ago.
I think the attitude towards disability 40 years ago was that a lot of people tried to actually ignore people with disabilities. And I think that one of the telling things about taking them out around London was how many people kind of really tried not to look at you. I think as well as the zoo, I think we did the Tower of London, and it was, it was almost as if other people were embarrassed by the fact that we were doing what we were doing. I think that were you to see a similar sort of group of effectively, children out together, mixed abilities, having a good time together now, I think that people would see it as an uplifting experience rather than embarrassing. I think that not just London, but most capital cities have recognised that you can't ignore people with physical handicaps.
However difficult you're finding it for the week, this is their life and this is what they live every day. And I've had so many conversations with people where it's like, I'm just not gonna have kids for so long now. Like, you realise how tough it is, and how it's like the moment when people go to bed and you realise that you've got a break and you've got time to yourself, and then you realise how much that time to yourself means, and how much how much time you fritter away and how much you take for granted, and the ability to walk and how much you take for granted that you can get up from the breakfast table and walk out and someone's just left there and they're totally dependent on someone else. And that, I don't know, it's quite amazing that you realise stuff like that in such a simple way.
The highlight of the week is the trip out, which this year was to the Harry Potter studios. It's fair to say that excitement was running high before the trip, and it wasn't uncommon to walk into a room and hear the theme tune playing. I of course already knew all the other hosts on Phab, but not long after it started, there was sort of an atmosphere where people were always willing to help, whether it be helping a guest in and out of bed or helping feed them at meal times. And it created a sense that whatever the problem may be, whether you're just feeling a bit tired or you just need a bit of time to go and brush your teeth, people were always there. I mean, I've never been hugged so much in my life.
There's a constant underlying buzz, which is quite nice. So if you're having a bit of a low moment, if you're feeling a bit tired, if you need a bit of a pick-me-up, there's someone to go and chat to. There's, people will leave you alone to have a little nap on a sofa in the corner. There's a quiet job you can get on with. Or if you want to go and sit with guests and hosts and kind of get involved, I think the nice part is, however you're feeling, there's something you can go and do to be involved in.
Everyone's there to lend a hand, to pop down to Tesco, to carry something for you, to get you some chocolate, give you a back massage, all these things. Those are all real things that have been done to me.
You stop thinking about yourself and you can push yourself much more than you thought you could without really struggling, which is lovely. And seeing all the staff as well behind the scenes pull together, look out for each other's really nice, and everyone just immediately goes the extra mile. For new members of staff, we don't even have to ask. They're always pushing themselves more and more, and in fact we have to make sure that they're not pushing themselves too much.
I've had more sleep this week than I usually get, but I'm still feeling quite tired. I mean, it's quite an exhausting week in terms of just always doing something.
There are late nights and kind of early mornings, and I suppose, yes, I have felt tired at times, but no more so than necessarily kind of a very busy week at school. But again, because we're all in it together, there's a sense of, it's fine, don't worry, we've got this. If you want to go and have half an hour, go and get a shower, which you haven't had for, you can't remember when, that's okay. It is tiring, but there's an adrenaline that kind of keeps you going as well. So, yeah, it's not an issue. I think that's the main point.
The week climaxes with a black tie dinner, followed by the disco, where hosts and guests are paired up to dance.
Everyone's got their best intentions, and everyone just wants, even all the guests want all the hosts to have a good time, and they're all so lovely, and even when it gets tough, you find that people are just in yard in tears laughing.
Asthma is really good. It's fun. I would come back here again.
I wasn't too sure what to expect. I got the impression that it was a wonderful community atmosphere amongst other staff and kind of working together. An opportunity to get to know other staff that I wouldn't necessarily come across day to day in the school.
The community is really good. Love it so much. I can't wait for the next one to come.
It was just a great week, and thanks guys for putting it together for us.
Westminster, I love doing it. I'm always around somewhere with a speaker in my hands, and they all love it.
It's been a really great environment because everyone is so welcoming and everyone talks to everyone at dinner. Everyone's happy to sit with anyone. And I think it's a really special place to be.
But it is one of the real highlights of the year. I always plan my holiday around it. I would never do anything to make, I hate the idea of not being here during Phab.
It's so easy to do because everyone's so lovely, staff, hosts, guests, that it's...
Phab has changed me, and Phab has taught me stuff, and Phab has made me into a more mature person and someone who's more willing to help out, and rather just kind of everything be about me, it's been all about everyone.
Phab is just a few days in the summer, but what you learned from this week stays with you forever.